mean, Riley Cooper, I mean, like, that dude deserves a statue. I mean, like,
number one on your speed dial.
Hey, I'll tell you what, like, I mean, I didn't know until a couple days after the fact. I was like, wait a minute, is he the MVP or like we got the all-tournament team?
No doubt about it.
And then Ty Floyd, when I sure got 17, and like stole it from him. But I was like, when has a pitcher like been a part of like 5 of the 6 wins in Omaha? I mean, what a performance!
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, Jordy.
Thank you for the time.
Pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Sharp a little late, boys, at the spring game, obviously, as you can see. A couple of booze cruises here to do. Let's do it. Cruise. Grand salami to the boys. Finally back on track. And I got another one coming. Don't you think I don't? And that's how we roll in Tiger Stadium.
Just watching the spring games that were on television, one thing that jumped out about your squad is your quarterback room is very talented compared to a lot of the league and a lot of the country. I wonder, is it easier to recruit that position when you have talent or when you don't have talent? Coach Kelly, we're official.
Finally,
I'm
get a
telling
chance to meet you. Thought I had to get a private audience with the Pope. There's Jordy.
Monday through Friday from 7 to 9. Yeah, you see the notification, we about to go live. We got all your favorite guests, we got them in line. It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Tearing up, answering the question, and I thought, my God, if she gets offered this job, she's going to take it.
It's just a crazy, fun time at LSU right now. Isn't this what everybody loves?
From the boot to the east to the west coast, no matter where we at, we open up the phone lines, come and join the show. Make sure you tell your friends about Jordy Culotta Show, yeah.
Let's go! Let's go!
All right.
Big day. Big day.
Nice start.
It's the Jordy Culotta Show, come have a good time.
Coach, it's great to meet you.
Thanks, Jordy.
Thank you for the time. All right, welcome into a Tuesday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show, live here on our Click Here digital campus on this Tuesday morning, as we're brought to you daily by RMB Builders. Remember, over at RMB Builders, you can get in touch with them online at rmb-builders.com, or just simply click on and check them out on Instagram at RMB Builders. All right, appreciate everybody starting your day here with us. Make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button. Our phone lines daily are brought to you by our friends over at Metropolitan Health Group, Real Doctors, Real Solutions, Charlie Harvey, Jason Ramazan, BJ and the crew over at Southern Regional Medical Center, bringing you our phone line today. 8:15, we'll talk to Wilson Alexander, from The Advocate, from NOLA.com. Brian Kelly going to speak with the media today, a part of his press luncheon each week. Obviously, yesterday it was delayed because of Labor Day. They'll be back at it today. Lloyd is here. Stewie is here. Full house on this Tuesday morning as we will keep up the reaction from the college football weekend. We will also react to Duke and Clemson last night as the Dukies handle Clemson for their first top 10 win since the 80s. They beat Clemson last night 28-7 in a pretty cool environment. We'll talk a little bit about Duke's quarterback, Riley Leonard. What a year for the quarterbacks as far as the draft is concerned. You look around college football, man, there's a lot of good quarterback play. We will talk about that coming up here over the next 2 hours. Cade Klubnik from Clemson last night struggled as he had a costly interception with about 5 minutes left in regulation. But it looks as if Dabo Swinney's inability, or I guess not inability, I guess he's got the ability to do it. He's just saying that he's not going to do it. Dipping into the transfer portal is looking like it's costing Clemson.
A little Clemson.
Clemson has been the school that has been, look, they've kind of been out and saying that they have their team. They're not going into the portal. Well, you could have used Keon Coleman.
LSU could have.
Just looking around at the wide receivers out there and some of the things that some of the people that have transferred in the offseason, and for Clemson not to recognize on their roster that they can't get past Duke's DBs, who's got 2 transfer cornerbacks, by the way, over at Duke, that they couldn't compete. So last night, Clemson falls to Duke 28-7 in just a horrid night for Clemson. I still say that LSU's performance was the worst of the weekend. After having a chance to go back and watch the game again yesterday, for whatever reason, I don't know why I did it.
It came into a very hot studio.
Yeah, I had to relive that movie.
Well, that's the best part about Stewart leaving and then coming back is we get to rehash the wound all over again. Mm-hmm. What'd you see?
First off, where is everybody? Like, where are all the players? I don't like. Where's Quincy Wiggins? Where's Deshaun Womack? Where's Chris Hilton? Where's Shelton Sampson, who I've heard so much about during training camp? Where are all of these players that you roll the ball out there 2 nights ago and you got no effort, you got no energy, and there's no move to try and find the best players and put them in position to make plays? I'm so discouraged about what I saw 2 nights ago. It has taken me back to a place that I never, or at least I was hopeful that LSU would never see again. Really. And throughout, and I don't mean to it's not in a comparison sake. It's just, it's a feeling. And when you would watch LSU 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there was a curiosity always on why are they not putting the guys or the best players in the positions to make plays? It was always, why are you not playing him? Why is that guy not playing more? Why is that guy not touching the ball more? Why aren't they using this guy in circumstances where he can help the team? 2 nights ago, when I watched LSU play, it was more of that, of where is everybody? I mean, I am so... I was texting Cole Kubelik and Roman Harper this morning because they have a great show on the SEC network called Read and React is the name of the show. It's on right now. It's on replay. It's on loop. I believe it comes on Sundays during the season. It's kind of a wrap-up show. And Cole is as good of an analyst that you will find in talking football. Roman, just as good. The lead question that they had for the weekend, after all the games had been played, top 3 questions, they do a segment called, both of their number 1 questions is, what the hell are you doing with Harold Perkins, LSU? What the hell is going on? How can you take a player who Roman Harper called the best defensive player in the league last year and have him out of position? And then not have the wherewithal in the middle of the game to recognize it, get out of it, and put him in a spot where he can make a play. That is Les Miles' LSU, where you just got all this talent that comes through here and you go 8-4. You go 9-3. You win 10 games when you should be playing for the national championship. All because you're hard-headed to the fact that you don't play the right players. I mean, going back and watching that game, it is mesmerizing. Keon Coleman straight up backyards LSU when he breaks the huddle. He breaks the huddle and puts his arm up like Randy Moss when he sees Deuce Chestnut standing over him. How much more disrespect do you have to have? How much more disrespectful can it be before you look at LaTerrence Welsh and say, get out there? Or you look at Denver Harris and say, get out there and go play. Well, he showed up late for a team. Who cares? This is ridiculous.
Even Ashton Stamps.
All of them.
You
go back and watch that game. No Quincy Wiggins. No Chris Hilton. I saw a tweet that Chris Hilton put out since has been deleted. Somebody screenshotted it, caught it, sent it to me. Chris Hilton Sr. tweeted out, why not me? Hashtag go Tigers. Hashtag put me in, coach. With 3 pictures of freakishly athletic plays that Chris Hilton has made throughout training camp. Not one play can that guy get on the field and just say, hey, Chris, you're a world-class sprinter. Put your head down and run towards that goalpost. Jaden, take a 3-step drop and uncork one time. See if you can't back these guys out of the box if they're just standing up here 7 yards like Anthony Jennings is playing quarterback at LSU. The disrespect the other night in a game and against a team that you were beating, that you looked like throughout the first 24 minutes of it that you were the better team and just couldn't close. Hopefully with some second half adjustments, you can start to push the ball across the goal line and get out of there with a win. Outscored 31-7. And some of the comments in the postgame, I got to be honest, it's alarming. And I'm not burning it down. And I'm not saying it's melting, but as the college football weekend wraps up, and we've seen it all now. You've seen Colorado play. You've seen Clemson trip over their feet. You've seen the SEC get out there and dominate their, week 1 opponents that they should. I still think, by far, LSU, the disappointment of the weekend. With the expectation and with what has been built up in the offseason, not really by us, too, the media, the people watching. It's really kind of been internally. I mean, you're really just kind of following the message of what's just coming out of the building. They thought they were good. And now to see the college football weekend come and go, I mean, on that same Read and React show on the SEC Network, watch the league. I know that nobody played anybody. Tennessee whooped Virginia. Alabama beat the brakes off of, was that South Alabama? Texas A&M beat New Mexico. I mean, all things that should happen, right? But they went out there and executed, and when you just watch their personnel and you look at LSU's personnel, it's different.
Nick Saban ain't scared to play freshmen.
I don't understand why you don't play the best players. I'll never understand in competition why coaches do not play the best players. That is one of the most inexplicable, downright dumb things I've ever seen in sports. It's only the thing that I've seen with Les Miles. Les Miles used to do it all the time, and he's the dumbest coach I've ever seen. The most underqualified, the most underwhelming, underperforming coach that has ever existed. And that's why. He didn't know how to put the players in the right position. He wasted so much talent that came through here. Russell Shepard played 8 years at wide receiver in the league. They couldn't find a position for him. He sat on the bench the last 3 games he was here. The Peach Bowl against Clemson, Russell Shepard's ordering hot dogs and need him on the bench. They don't know how to use him. Meanwhile, Chris Hilton's sitting on the bench on Sunday night. And LSU's dropping balls. LaTerrence Welsh, where was he? I'm not saying that he steps in there and he becomes an All-American, but he's better than what you have on the field. For not to be able to recognize that 5'9" can't guard 6'4" one-on-one and make the adjustment, what the hell's going on? Well, what are you looking at?
Let's switch it, Coach. We'll put Major Burns on him.
I mean, like, what are you looking at? I am so glad that the Harold Perkins story is just permeating throughout college football. Every show you click on, people are like, what the hell are they doing with Perkins?
They neutered him.
I mean, somebody's got to be like, yo, Matt, you got to pull the plug on this thing in the middle, right? I mean, just put the guy on the outside where he dominated college football last year and quit overthinking it. It's hard. It is difficult to mess up a player as good as Harold Perkins. It really is. I mean, it would be like taking Malik Neighbors and be like, hey, man, we're going to start you at right tackle this week. Huh? I'm going to get mauled there. Yeah, no, but just this week in the game plan, it looks like you're a better fit in the offensive line. Huh? I mean, I cannot believe when you go back and watch the game how much LSU got in their own way. And the thing about it is, you were getting all the breaks. You were getting all the calls. Everything was going your way. I just, a day later, watching it again, watching Clemson, like, dump on themselves into bed. I mean, I still think that LSU by far was the most disappointing performance of opening weekend in college football.
I think you have to look at who they played also. Like, I think that will be determined later in the year when you find out if Florida State is for real or not. Because we did this song and dance after UCLA. Whenever LSU lost that game, we're like, well, maybe UCLA is good.
And they ended up being not good.
And they ended up not being good. So I don't want to put any stock in that just yet, because Florida State could be for real. And maybe you just got beat by a team that's better than you are. If Florida State's at top, I mean, you just saw if that's what Clemson is, Florida State's, they're going to outright walk into the playoff. So you lost to a Final Four team. And the thing that's disappointing is you can look at the scoreboard. Absolutely. It's not, people forget LSU was up 17-14. It's everything that happened after that is why people feel the way they feel today.
But even before,
you got dog walked after.
I would even go before, because you moved the ball. It was just I don't like to blame like players. I would say even like
the scheme didn't change from 2022. It was the same plays. I've seen those 5 plays.
The play column was very vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
Very just, it was like a spring game. Like, oh, we're gonna just roll out here and run Mason Taylor on the slip screen, try to get Jaden Daniels out on the edge. They got 7 players waiting on Jaden Daniels on the edge.
They know what that looks like. Like the book is out. Like, there's film now on what LSU looks like with Jaden Daniels at quarterback, and I'm not blaming Jaden Daniels. I'm blaming play calling. And you talk about playing young players. We're inside the 5. You don't think Caleb Jackson knows how to get into the end zone? Where's Logan Diggs? You brought him in for a reason.
Oh, he said Logan Diggs didn't practice the way that they thought he could the week before the game. So.
I'm tired of that kind of shit, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, this, we were praising Brian Kelly for being transparent, and then when it gets to game week, all of a sudden he's turtling on everything that he was saying and everything that he was being transparent with the media, and then he walks up and has the audacity to say, "Oh, it seems like we thought we were Georgia."
I mean, some of the comments in the postgame.
What do you mean we?
Well, I guess we're not the team that we thought we were.
That's like, you,
man. You what? Like, you gonna say that out loud publicly?
But who are you talking to? Who is he saying we?
I just
like, is he blaming himself? Take. You have to own it.
Well, even on the broadcast, like, I think they were kind of saying like the team takes the identity of the head coach, and I think LSU took the identity of their head coach this week.
They got punked.
He turned an LSU football team, and I'm not saying that this is just a one-game sample size, but he made an LSU football team look like a Notre Dame football team in a week.
Yeah.
It feels like a Notre Dame football team.
Mm-hmm.
You got punked.
Right? I mean, like,
Florida State did what LSU does to people.
I've heard reports from people, they don't play music in the locker room before the game. Like it's like this atmosphere of almost church.
Yeah, it does.
Right? Like, I mean, I was lucky enough to be around LSU football in a front row seat and have some behind the scenes access from about 2012 through 2016. We were a part of the LSU Sports Radio Network, did a pregame show, was a part of a station that was affiliated with LSU Sports, and like we would have access to the locker room pregame. We would stand on the field during the game. You could go into the locker room postgame. We traveled with the team in some instances. We were just around it, right? I mean, like, you were all up in it. I mean, and one of the things that, and that's not the only locker room I've ever been in. I'm sure the listeners out there have experience with it. I mean, if you've ever been into a locker room pregame of competition, I mean, there's a certain period and point where, I mean, it's a rave. I mean, it's a concert. It's a get pumped up. It's kind of like, get things moving. I mean, the temperature and tone has changed so much around LSU, and some things for the better, right? I mean, some things had to happen, but one thing you don't want to take away from a school like LSU is that mentality, that starving, that eat at all costs, that compete at all costs type mentality. That again, a storyline that yesterday we opened up the phone lines for the second hour of the show. If you've missed it, you can go back and listen to it. The one common theme throughout about 8 or 9 phone calls, maybe 10 phone calls in the second hour, was that they quit. Was that there was no effort late in the game. There was no energy late in the game. And really, I can't remember that around LSU. LSU's always been that competitive team that they would make you hurt. They would make you suffer for having that type of mentality. And to see LSU on the other side of it, that just doesn't happen, right? Like, you just don't show up in the third and fourth quarter and you're like, oh man, this is done. I guess we're going to check out. That's something that
comes from the top.
And it takes a minute for it to take over a locker room, to take over 105 guys. And if that's the case, I mean, it's just there are some, look, again, they're 0-1, right? There's a long season left in front of them. But for what they showed after the summer they had in the buildup of who LSU was telling us that they were, a lot of people getting exposed on Sunday night.
I mean, me and Lloyd talked about it yesterday. Had a long call. Just a little recapper. And it was almost like, we talked about it. It was almost like he coached the dog out of the players that have that dog in them. Like Harold Perkins, Greg Brooks, Mekhi Wingos. Like, those guys, they played well, but they didn't play with that edge, with that LSU edge, with that dog mentality. I mean, we watched Aaron Anderson get knocked into the bench.
Own bench.
2 rows into your own bench. And not one offensive lineman, receiver, quarterback, nobody stepped up and said, hey, like,
grab that.
Yeah, this ain't going to happen around here. Like, this don't happen at LSU. Even Jaden Daniels getting speared in the chest. I mean, granted, he shouldn't have jumped, but he got speared in the chest. Florida State standing over him. Not one offensive lineman comes in and knocks somebody's head off or anything. Like, it wasn't even a personal foul call after that. And that's just stuff that, I mean, Florida State was doing. Florida State was getting personal fouls, and they didn't give a damn. Mike Norvell did not give a.
He wanted them to. He
Yeah.
coached that into him. He said, "Go in there and be the aggressor."
That was the game plan.
Yeah.
Go in there and punch him in the mouth.
Punch him. See what happens.
And they did.
Stan Manning, Jordy. So you're saying the program's in a spiral now? Got to fire this coach?
No,
Stan.
I'm not saying that.
I mean, like, you want to be dramatic and bring that stuff up, but if you watch that game on Sunday night and you have a feeling that the program is in the right spot moving forward, that they don't have a ton of adjustments that they have to make and that they can figure it out. But after game one and a long season of buildup, a long off season of buildup, and watching the college football weekend, who's in more of a desperate spot than LSU is?
No one.
I mean, really, to me, the wheels are off at Clemson. I mean, if he's not going to get into the transfer portal where he's costing his program, talking about Dabo Swinney, LSU's got transfers all over the place.
Well, that's the other part of the equation where you got transfers everywhere. You're not playing them.
Well, I mean, that's who he is playing.
No, I'm talking about one person in particular.
We might not be playing the right transfer. That way.
I think that there's a couple of things that could be changed, and I think there's some easy fixes, but I wonder what they are for what the staff thinks they are. Does Mike Denbrock think he has the answers on offense? That offensive game plan that he rolled out, does he think that that's going to win football games, especially when you're in the SEC conference? Like, I understand Florida State might be good, and I just said that. But there's other teams in the conference that are also good. Like Ole Miss, if you're Matt House, you should be staying up at night thinking about Ole Miss's offense and what they're going to do to you. Because you don't got players at corner. You don't have it.
They blinked and scored 70 on Saturday.
Yeah. And
they just rolled out of bed and scored 70.
But there needs to be a mentality change from the top down, where go out and get a personal foul. Don't let that happen again, where you got punked and you were winning the game 17-14, and everybody was looked up at halftime like, look, LSU's got they've got no penalties. Look how disciplined they are. Discipline's one thing. Being able to just go into a boxing ring and just get bodied and then not say anything about it is totally different. Like, you have to be the aggressor in these games, and LSU showed that they had no dog in them.
It's like they got punched in the mouth and
just took it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I guess we'll quit.
Almost left.
Yeah, like, oh, that hurt.
Like, bleeding, left.
Like, Will Campbell, I know he has that dog in him.
Emory Jones.
I know you got that dog in you. He'll pert. I mean, you saw it at the end of the game when he slung that man 15 yards into the end zone because he's just done.
I was going to say, you almost let him score.
Like, and I think those are some of the things that you'll see fixed. Like, if you're Matt House, you have to give up on the inside backer experience. Yeah. What good does it do you?
It's not like he's catching interceptions or playing at
how much more. Yeah, how much more was it an advantage for him to be there, or what you saw last year? And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it will work. Maybe they don't give up on it, and you start to see this evolution into Perk become. But what does that get you?
I mean, it makes no sense for him to be in the middle of the field. And I see people who saying that people schemed against him late in the year as well. Are we going to argue whether or not he should be rushing the passer? Like, really? Is there an argument to be made that after watching him play 8 games as a freshman, that he should not be coming off the edge, or at least scheming him to get into a one-on-one situation and come off the edge? I mean, can't we all agree in the middle of the field, you totally strip his skill set and neutralize one of the best players in the sport? And I don't even know what I'm looking at.
He didn't know what he was looking at.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't even, but it's as elementary and as simple as saying, that ain't it. I mean, like, that's not where he's supposed to be. You know, I mean, and just to sit there and watch that for 4 quarters, to me, it's insubordination. I mean, really, I don't know how else to put it. Like, I mean, it would be like you at your job watching something just screw up for 3.5 hours and just keep
doing the same thing.
Just keep feeding it, keep investing in it, keep saying we're going to keep doing it, rather than saying, hold up, this is screwing up, let's move that. It just, I didn't understand what they were doing. And I think that you look at some personnel on LSU, and there's just things that you can't fix. Immediately you can fix, you get Mason Smith back. That'll help tremendously. Mm-hmm. You can fix immediately moving Harold Perkins into a situation in a place that he can make plays. You can start playing guys like, where was Quincy Wiggins the other night? Where was Chris Hilton the other night? Where was Deshaun Womack the other night, who have heard all offseason that this guy is potential game wrecker? Why doesn't Braden Swinson play over Oviegofu. I mean, just to the natural eye. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is something that we know that they know that we don't know just by, being there. But just watching the game, just turning the game on and watching it, number 13 disrupts the game more than number 2 does. Why is number 13 on the field less than number 2?
Simple.
I just, serious question. Nothing against number 2. Just when you see 2 players playing the same position, it's quite easy to see, well, 13 is causing more disruption tonight. Maybe it's not next week where he's the better player, but tonight he is. Why does he come off the field? Why not play the players that are affecting the game? I mean, that's the stuff that you look at and you're like, that's some Les Miles stuff. I mean, that's some dumb, inexplicable moves that you're like, what are you doing? Why don't you play Denver Harris at defensive back if that's what your selections are?
They don't have a choice.
You have zero choice. Zero. If your goal is to play for championships, you have no choice.
You think Denver Harris would have gave up 3 touchdowns?
I know he would have fought.
And I know he would have. Exactly. And that's all I need from you. Like, I don't need you to not give up 3 touchdowns, but I need you to fight. I need you to, when that man catches a slant, I need you to tackle him instead of trying to hit his leg.
Stan Manning, fire Brian Kelly, only solution, I guess. Stan, you're miserable, bro.
We aren't talking about firing the coach.
You're a miserable person, man. I mean, think objectively. So what you saw on Sunday night, you're good with? You've got no reaction to it? You're just going to sit here and let Brian Kelly for the next decade look as if he's not playing the best players? He's not going anywhere. They're not firing him. I'm not saying to fire him. I'm saying they have to make major adjustments if they want to be at a championship level. And that's what we're being sold that they are building. I mean, it's a reactionary show. It's a talking head. It's reacting to what you saw.
There's 3 or 4 plays you can look at, and and the game goes differently. Like LSU had opportunities to win the football game, and that's what the sport is. Like Brian Thomas down the sidelines, you'd like to see that catch made. Kyron Lacy on a slant, you'd like to see that catch made. I'm not blaming them, but I'm saying those are the different types of plays that if you were talking about like a performance-based result, those are the things that you have to look at. In totality, that's the problem. It was what LSU, the indifference to losing is what bothered me and how LSU played. It was ho-hum, oh, I guess we're just going to lose the game. There was nothing in you that made you think, okay, they're about to come out in the second half and whip ass, which you saw that last year when Matt House made second half adjustments. The offense got better in the second half, but this looked like LSU Arkansas. After talk about the Les Miles era, it looked like LSU after they had lost to Alabama. That's what it looked like. Where it's like, I guess we'll just roll the ball out and see what happens. I don't really care if we win or lose. And that, to me, says in the second half that they know that they got dog-walked in the first half. The scoreboard didn't show it, but the personnel and the attitude did. Florida State came out and said, oh, we got them right where we want them. And ain't nothing you can do about that. It's got to be a shift in mentality.
Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Hughes Mechanical. Hughes Mechanical Air Condition. You can find them online at hughesmechanical.net. HughesMechanical.net, and they serve the entire South Louisiana over at Hughes Mechanical. They're located over in Zachary. They can serve to the North Shore, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and everywhere in between. If you want to get in touch with Hughes Mechanical Contractors, they can help you with HVAC services, both residential and commercial today. They're a trusted Daikin dealer with the best warranty that you can find in the market. 225-658-2147, 225-658-2147. Travis Hughes and the crew, been around for a while. They got great experience. You can find them. They're the most trusted and experienced professionals that you can find throughout South Louisiana. They're stationed in Zachary, but as we said, they have a huge service area online. HughesMechanical.net. HughesMechanical.net is where you can find them online, and you can get in touch with them by calling the number 225-658-2147. 225-658-2147. All right, let's go through some of the comments that have come through here. Chili just said, read my super chat. Super chat, second year straight off not playing the best players. Yeah, look, that's my biggest argument of the weekend. Really. Like that is, and I got PTSD on it, to be honest. I mean, it took me back to a place where I thought for sure LSU had graduated from and was never going to go back, to where you've got guys just standing on the sidelines that can help you win games that you just don't play them. You for whatever reason, I don't know, you just don't play them. And, for everybody that's, well, you act like Denver Harris wasn't giving up 3 touchdowns in practice. He wasn't.
He didn't.
I mean, he wasn't.
Honestly, he
we
didn't.
We were out there a lot. I mean, he was competing. He's the best cornerback on the team, and it's not close. Does everybody hear me, understand me? This is coming from football coaches, from players, we've had players come and sit in this studio, or our old studio, that play and start in the defensive backfield. We asked them off the record, who's the best cornerbacks on the team? And they gave us 2 names. Each time, one of the 2 names was Denver Harris, coming from their own peers. We've asked coaches, who's the best player in the defensive backfield? Well, it starts with Harris. Oh, okay. Good deal. For people that want, he's not that good. He can't play.
Turn on the tape.
They're not playing him because he can't. Well, all right. When number 10 finally gets a chance to step out there and play DB, for those of you who are debating whether or not he should be on the field against Florida State, hopefully you will see as clear as it is that he should have been playing down 1, play 1, game 1. Is he going to give up big plays? Maybe. Probably.
That's the nature of the position.
It's the nature of the spot. But is he the top talent on the team at defensive back? It's not even up for it's not up for question. I mean, it's non-debatable. And is he late for a team? Was he late for a team meal? Yeah, he was.
Sorry.
Sit him the first series. They put him in the game.
I would even, if you want to take it far, sit up for the first quarter. All right, cool. Be back in the second. Instead of trotting out there with 5'10", and Major Burns trying to man up on people.
But that's the entire issue with what Matt House doesn't have the cards in the deck. That's why you're seeing the defense that you saw, where you're running cover 3, soft shell, and that's how you're able to convert 3rd and 17s, 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 6s, and not get pressure. Because he's terrified that they're going to take the top off the defense.
And they aren't even putting pressure on the receivers. They don't.
No, it's all pressure. Keep everything in front of you.
Yeah, just giving him a free release off the line. Then he gets
don't let him behind you.
Right. Then I got 10 yards of cushion, so I'm about to run this deep dig, and I'm gonna be right underneath you.
And then yak for days.
It's just not the LSU.
Because that's not if you're really being honest, there's not a cure for that. I don't know if LSU, unless there's it feels like you might be one player away from that. And I guess there's a world in which you bring Mason Smith back, he shouldn't have sat. That's so stupid. You bring him back, you have Harold Perkins back in his role, and you insert Denver Harris. Doesn't that feel like that's a little bit of a better look than what you saw Sunday night?
That's 10 times of a better look.
At least you can work with that.
Jordan Jackson, I hope Denver is like that. But if, as a coach, you got to make those decisions to get a man to buy in.
Or you can lose the entire locker room.
LSU will be a lot better going forward. Cordell Music, 3 running backs, 12 carries total. Mm-hmm. Jaden Daniels had 15 carries. Look, I agree. That was another takeaway that I had in watching the game again. If you want to establish the run, you got to commit to the run. There's no commitment to running the football at LSU. And, when we talk about some of the identities that have changed at LSU here recently, the 2 most glaring, in my opinion, is the defensive backfield right now is far away from DBU. and having those, that line of guys every year just kind of falling off of trees where you got first-round picks. And then the running back situation where every single year LSU had that dude, right? Geis, Fournette, Scott, Keelan, Hester, Falk. I mean, you just keep going on and on.
Ridley.
Right. I mean, they just got that dude every year. They don't seem to have that guy, but one thing that they have gotten away from in the running back situation is the commitment to the run, establishing the line of scrimmage, establishing the run. It looks as if they call runs, but they just check out of them. Like a lot of it's the RPO, where you've got an option to either run or pass it when you get to the line of scrimmage. To me, I think they need to commit to the run again, especially if you believe you got an offensive line that you can run behind. And they may not have been calling the most sensible plays for the offensive line on Sunday night to establish that ground game, but there were opportunities to run the football against Florida State where they just didn't take advantage of. And I think that's one thing moving forward that LSU from an offensive standpoint has got to place some commitment to. And it's not really about the running back. Right? It's not right that you don't have Fournette, Geis, one of these guys.
I think they do have a Fournette Geis type of guy. They just don't play him.
Caleb Jackson?
Yes.
That's fine. And look, it took even Fournette, Geis, and those guys a minute to get going. I mean, Caleb Jackson's logged one college football game, right? And I agree with you. At the end of the day, he's probably the freakiest of them all. But you still got guys back there, whether it's Bradford, Kane, Josh Williams. I mean, if Armani Goodwin and Logan Diggs can get right and get on the field, I mean, you got options that you can put back there and commit to the run. If it's not with one guy, you can do it by committee. I mean, Frank Wilson is the best in the country at doing this. He did it in 2011 where he had Terrence McGee, Spencer Ware, Kenny Hilliard, Michael Ford. I mean, all those guys ate. All those guys were pros. All those guys got a shot to be a pro. Alfred Blue was the fourth team back on that squad. I think he logged 5 years in the league.
Yep. Houston, Texas.
Michael Ford got a tryout with the Bears. Spencer Ware played in KC. Kenny Hilliard played with the Texans for a season. I mean, all those guys got to the league. And one of the biggest attributes, one of the biggest bullet points of this is why they're going to be good is because the tread wasn't taken off the tire. You didn't run them into the ground while they were here. So there's opportunities to do this, running back by committee, running back by rotation, whatever it may be. But the commitment to the run is just not there for LSU anymore.
I think they tried to establish the run. I say that, but the right side of the offensive line was just getting absolutely worked. There was really no.
Okay.
You almost had to
then
go
shovel the ball outside.
Oh yeah, that's
you know
what I'm saying.
I mean? There's
stop running Aaron Anderson in motion and not giving him the rock.
I mean, it's just like
the play calling on the offensive side of the ball was as frustrating as I've been in a long time.
Hunter Cleveland disagreed, Jordy. They ran the ball too much. It obviously wasn't working. It wasn't working in the style that they were running the ball. They were running it right into the middle of the line of scrimmage. They were running it right at Jared Verse. They were doing things where you were like, what are you doing?
Where they weren't getting push at.
Right. I mean, line up and run behind 66.
And 72.
I mean, that's where the push was happening. That's where the line was moving.
I mean,
even if you're going to run Daniels, I thought there was some opportunities on that. I love some of the quarterback draws that they call, just the straight snap it to him and go, let him read one guy and kind of, put his hand on the back of a hip of somebody and then go. He's great at that. But loosening these guys up a little bit so they can use their playmakers, take shots. Jalen Milroe's good, bro.
I just saw that too.
Lord.
And he's having fun.
I mean,
But I think that at the end of the day, we can be as frustrated as we want to be. LSU played a good team. You look around the conference. Alabama didn't play anybody that they had to struggle with.
Straight up, I agree.
You'll be able to see some of this stuff next on Saturday.
Well, and that is fine, but I'd have much rather seen it for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
Because the most disappointing part about week 1 is that you had Florida State. You were right there with them through 24 minutes. And then over the last 2 quarters, I mean, it's a totally different football game. I mean, that is...
You got tight.
The opportunity, the concerning part, right?
They tightened up.
Let's see here. Going through some of the comments.
Somebody in the comments made a comment about Denver Harris fighting every day. We were at practice every day. I only saw one fight, and Denver Harris.
I mean, I love now.
Was in it, but I mean, everybody was in it.
I love the tales of Denver Harris now.
Yeah.
I mean, like everything. I mean, I've heard that he never goes to class. Oh, really? I've heard that he starts fights every day. I've heard that he man, he's 19. Has he done some things and some choices that he'd like to have back? Yeah. Has he not been on time for some things that you're supposed to be on time? Yes. Is he the best defensive back on LSU's football team? Yes. How do you measure that? How do you use that in a consequential way? I'm not the one that's tasked to be able to make that choice. But for as much as we've heard that Brian Kelly runs his program one way and that this is the way, Denver Harris is still on the team. You know, I mean, for as much as we want to say accountable, make sure and hold him accountable, make him walk the line. All right, well, he is, but he's still on the team. My argument is, if he's on the team, play him. If you got to punish him for something that he did to the team, do that where it doesn't hurt the rest of the squad.
Dylan F. makes a good point. Let him fight on the field. We could have used that.
Do you think you see him at all this year?
Yes.
Have to.
If they keep rolling that out there, I don't mean this disrespectfully. I don't mean this disparagingly. But if we're going to sit here and be honest with one another, then, I mean, that's why I want you to keep coming back here. I'm not just going to bullshit you. I'm not going to BS you, right? Like, if LSU rolls out their defensive backs that they rolled out on Sunday night, I don't know who they could guard. I don't see a team in the league that they can guard. Mississippi State's big on the outside. Ole Miss put up 70 before you blinked on Saturday. I don't care if they played U-High. I don't care if they played Alabama. You put 70 up against anybody, that's efficient.
Guess where that receiver's from? Lafayette.
Oh, I mean, they were the second team on Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
I mean, I heard the NIL deal that Ole Miss offered him. I mean...
Oh, Coach, I know the NIL deal he has at Florida, and it is beautiful.
Well,
Florida State?
Florida State is...
I mean, 3 touchdowns in a top 10
Would you
win.
pay for him?
Yeah, he just earned it. He earned it one. He earned it in one game.
I mean, he didn't drop a pass, and 3 of them go for 6, and he embarrasses everybody you put in front of him.
Everybody.
There is a shot of Keon Coleman when he breaks the huddle. He Randy Mosses LSU's defensive backfield. He gets out of the huddle and puts his arm in the air to Jordan Travis like, don't overthink it, JT. Put it up in the air. I'm about to abuse this guy. That's LSU, DBU. You should have your pride hit. That should hurt. You shouldn't put up with that. If you got a player like Denver Harris sitting on the sidelines, don't overthink it. Play him. Unless you just want that to happen every week.
I guess they do.
Really? Who can they guard? I'm not being disrespectful. Tell me. I watched a ton of college football this weekend. They can't guard Colorado.
Oh, my goodness.
LSU doesn't have one player that could guard Travis Hunter. Not one player.
Nobody does. Travis Hunter can guard Travis Hunter.
But that...
Georgia does.
Yeah. Georgia's got 4 of them.
Bama does.
4 of them. Bama ain't scared to play their freshmen.
Michigan does.
Michigan does.
I thought LSU was in that class.
That's what I'm saying. That's the conversation you want to be in.
Well, they were in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody told me they were.
Yeah.
Everybody said they had a seat at that table. To have a seat at that table, you got to have players. LSU is not at that table. They don't have those guys. And that's just the facts. That's how it is. College football it's the difference between the haves and the have-nots on a couple of categories. You got to have the coach. You got to have the coach. But if you don't have the players, it does not matter. Saban went 5-7 in his first year in Alabama. Ended up winning 10 games the next year. You know what the difference was? Julio Jones. The players. That was the difference. Saban just didn't automatically become a good coach in between 07 and 08. He had the number 1 recruiting class in the country. He stocked his roster. And missing on guys like Keon Coleman on the first time, that's what happens when you don't get Louisiana kids and they come back. Did you see what Keon Coleman's mom said to Ross Dellinger about playing LSU? The Bible says to make the Bible says to make your enemy your footstool. I was glad to see Keon did that to LSU. That's his mom from Opelousas. You think not getting the LSU offer out of high school meant anything? You think passing on to him hurt you?
I'm surprised Will Wade wasn't pounding the table for him.
Yeah.
Because you get him in football and basketball, coach. Got something. We don't have anything.
Saban went 7-6 his first year.
Pain.
I think there's a world also where, and I'm circling the Mississippi State game on the calendar, where you probably start seeing as a Lance Hurd slide in, a Caleb Jackson slide in.
I'm glad they didn't play Lance Hurd last weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think you're going to see him. You're going to see him Saturday.
This week. I think you see him.
And then you're going to.
Florida State moved verse.
Absolutely.
To the other side.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Because he wasn't getting any push on Will Campbell.
Campbell and him were just 2 brick walls.
Yeah, I mean, he had one good rush on Will Campbell.
Yeah, he got him once.
Once out of what?
He's a top 10 pick.
Yeah, once out of what, 10?
Yeah.
20?
And then they just flipped him.
Right. Look, smart move.
And Emory's not bad,
No.
but
I mean, just a
that's
little
why he's right. Yeah, that's why he's the right tackle.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
But
That's a top 10 pick.
But that's also when Jane Daniels started to be able to take off and run because he can see him. Mm-hmm. And so that's where he got all of his rushing yards.
I'm not blaming BK for missing on Keon Coleman out of high school.
It wasn't here.
It wasn't his problem.
staff.
I'm just saying, like, Louisiana kids, bet on them. Yeah. Bet on them. Like, there's too many examples of guys that come down to LSU outside of the area that don't vibe with the culture. They don't vibe with the way that people handle themselves. Some people don't like the food. Some people hate the heat. A lot of people, it's just a different way of life. If you bet on Louisiana kids, you have a laundry list of examples where you can look at and say, hey, man, the nucleus of 03, 07, 11, 19 is what? Louisiana talent. Louisiana kids. Don't overthink it.
I mean, 2019, what are we looking at on defense as far as Louisiana starters? What? If it's 11 on the field, say 8 of the 11 were Louisiana kids?
At least. I mean.
Got Grant Delpit from Texas, but he's from New Orleans.
Right.
Christian
Harold
Fulton,
Perkins.
New Orleans.
I mean, he's a New Orleans native. You know, I mean, it's just a different mentality, man. Yeah. All right, good stuff. Remember, hour 2, we're going to talk to Wilson Alexander. Brian Kelly's press conference coming up today at noon. We will talk to Kelly, we'll hear from Kelly at noon today, where he will address this weekend and the week ahead. Grambling coming in this week to Tiger Stadium, the home opener. Will you be there? Put it up on the poll, Stu, if you don't mind. Are you heading out to Tiger Stadium this weekend? Yes or no? Hour 2 coming at you from Click Here Digital Studios. Remember, over at Click Here, Google ads, Facebook ads, social media ads, you see them all the time. Are you curious on where they come from, on how they're being served to you directly? When you searched for those shoes, do you wonder how the shoes followed you from your phone to your smart TV to your computer to your iPad to all these spots? It's coming from a spot like Click Here Digital. Let Click Here Digital manage your full marketing plans for you today. If you've got questions on how they can change your bottom line, tell you all the time, if you need the phone to ring, Click Here Digital can make the phone ring. If you need more foot traffic walking through the door, they can get more people walking into your establishment. Or if you need more clicks on your website, they can drive more traffic to your website. If you want to find out more about Click Here Digital, simple. Email me, Jordy@clickheredigital.com. Jordy at clickheredigital.com, or just log online and find out for yourself, clickheredigital.com, and shoot me any questions that you may have. Hour 2 coming back at you. We'll react to the college football weekend. We'll talk more LSU with Wilson Alexander at NOLA.com and Times-Picayune and The Advocate coming up here at 8:15 this morning. Come back with us. Jordy Culotta Show live on this Tuesday, built by RMB Builders every day. To all sports fans was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by Hebert's Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, Hebert's Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. Hebert's can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. Hebert's Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go-Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Is it time to wash your house or business? Call the pros at Hydro Wash today. Get them out with their low-pressure, soft-washing cleaning approach. From commercial buildings, rooftops, and residentials, Hydro Wash is ready to get your place shining. Find them on Facebook or call Curtis at 225-933-7068. Take it from me, Hydro Wash came by and made my house look like new. What was best was the professionalism. They picked up everything, made the clean, and then put everything back to where it belonged. Get in touch with Curtis today. Call him at 225-933-7068 or find Hydro Wash on Facebook.
All right, buddy. Make it a good shot.
Oh, yeah.
Sticking the roof in. Hey, Greg, roof up?
Roof's up.
Roof's up. Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Roof's up.
Beautiful roof every single time. True. True.
Phil's Oyster Bar, a staple of South Louisiana since 1945, located in Southdown Shopping Center and online at philsoysterbar.com. If you log online, you can learn about the private party schedule, the catering menu, and even order online. Daily lunch specials Monday through Friday. Learn about the history when Gus Piazza took it over in the early 70s, made it an absolute stop-in for everyone who came through Baton Rouge, and now Anthony, his son, carrying on the tradition. Phil's Oyster Bar, Southdown Shopping Center, and online, philsoysterbar.com. All right, welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by our friends over at RMB Builders and brought to you live here daily on the campus of Click Here Digital. You can find more online at clickheredigital.com. Hour 2, we're going to talk to Wilson Alexander, one of our favorites. Of course, Wilson Alexander, the Edward Ischoff Rising Star media member named by ESPN during this summer. He's covering LSU football for The Advocate. He covers it for NOLA.com, and he's going to stop by here at 8:15 this morning. We'll talk to him about the weekend, what the week ahead here is. LSU kind of moving on a little bit of an abnormal week. Usually these press luncheons for Brian Kelly will happen on Monday. This week it comes to you here on Tuesday, obviously because of the holiday yesterday. So home opener, we put it on the poll, Stewie, and numbers seem like they were trending to a bunch of you that were not going out to Tiger Stadium.
Somebody wants to see Grandma? World fame band?
You guys in?
Yeah.
I'll go tailgate.
I'm in.
I'm not going to
I want to
game.
have fun. I keep seeing this SEC
Tulane game.
I keep seeing this SEC network.
See Tulane and Ole Miss this weekend.
Yeah.
Watch out now.
In
At
New Orleans.
Ulman.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Ole Miss favored by 7.
Let's get
I
weird.
kind of like the greenies there.
I like the greenies
I think
too.
let's take the over.
I like the greenies
Definitely
to cover.
over.
I like
Tulane look good.
Greenies cover, coach.
Yeah, they cover.
We should get
Quarterback's
Hudak.
hurt.
We should get Hudak on.
Quarterback's hurt though.
Who?
Matty Hudak.
Oh yeah.
Quarterback's hurt.
Pratt's
hurt.
Oh, he is?
Ankle.
Oh, that's a different game then.
Yeah, after a game, they put some video out. Somebody like in the media in New Orleans, and he was
limping.
He was gimpy, coach.
Hey,
No.
Hey, look,
tighten that thing up a little bit tighter
right.
then.
Doctor that thing up. He had the ankles taped already. He had the spat on.
National television, Pratty.
Yeah.
Shoot it up.
Yeah.
Give me that pill.
Come on now. Here we go.
Ullman's going to be rocking.
Oh, my goodness. Place is going to be on tilt.
But I'm excited because I do think that obviously that is not the way that you wanted to start off the LSU football season. And we talked about it yesterday where which loss felt better. The LSU, just because of the way that LSU lost the first game, and all of the things around it, like new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback, all of those things, it felt excusable, especially that you lost about one. But when you circle this game on the calendar, you're ready to see a totally different LSU team, and it looked like Florida State made the jump that you expected LSU to make.
Exactly right.
And that's what I still think that there's a world, because LSU got better last year after the first game. There's a world where it continues to all right, and I don't want that to become the standard where it's acceptable to lose these. You're now 0-4 in big-time college football matchups on the first game of the year that everybody watches.
You're 0-4 since the national championship.
Brian Kelly talks about the brand. That's not good for the brand. And guess what? Those games aren't going anywhere because you have them scheduled for USC next year, Clemson the year after that. You will continue to be on national on national televised stages. And from what we saw on Sunday, I believe by those games against USC and Clemson, you might have some staff changes, I would imagine.
Oh, for sure. And I would also make a little bit of a schedule change. I would schedule a week 0 game.
They tried.
I know they did, but now
are.
you have the opportunity here to get out in front of it.
Yeah,
you've got 2 years of data where your team has looked very clunky in week 1, right? You look back in the Dome a season ago, you look ahead to Camping World Stadium in Orlando a couple of days ago, and there's a common theme. The common denominator is that LSU is just ill-prepared. They don't look as if they're checked in. They're not in it. Maybe a week 0 game will do this program good going into these matchups that they have scheduled over the next couple of years. Because one thing you can't have happen, and this comes out on Monday morning, is that Sunday's primetime matchup on ABC between LSU and Florida State averaged 9.1 million viewers during the broadcast. That is the second most on record for a Sunday night college football game opener ever. The game, which the Seminoles won 45-24, was the most viewed college game of the weekend. This is including Deion and TCU.
Somebody call Verge.
We talked about the 48-hour period that was for LSU over the weekend. You lost the state's top recruit on Friday. You got rolled up in front of 9 million people on Sunday night. Bad for the brand.
You think he could use Dominic McKinley next year?
I mean, you got to hit. What's my guy from North Louisiana's name up at Ruston, the big defensive tackle that's committed to Texas A&M? Is it Gabe something? Help me out on that, Stewie, if you don't mind, please. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by our friends over at Katie's Restaurant down in New Orleans. Was down in New Orleans the other day. Somebody stopped me and said that they had listened to the podcast. They were listening to the podcast and had been going to Katie's since 1984. They were an original customer of Katie's. Said they heard us promoting Katie's on the show and said that they were one of the OGs of Katie's, somebody that had seen it grow into what it is now over on Iberville Street, right in the heart of Mid-City. Great selections of New Orleans favorites on the menu, the coldest beer, the best service. And now, if you're looking for a place to watch football games, my man Scotty Craig and the crew over at Katie's have embraced it. They got 6 new televisions on the wall, and they got new Sunday hours that stay open from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every single Sunday. So if you want to pregame over at Katie's before you get in the Dome, you can pregame there. If you want to get into Katie's for a postgame meal and check out some of the wrap-ups from the noon games, you can do that over at Katie's. Or if you just want to go post up and watch football over at Katie's in Mid-City on Iberville Street, you can do that down in New Orleans from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. every Sunday in front of their new 6 televisions that they just added over at Katie's. Our favorites are great people. Tell Scott Craig and the crew that you heard it here on the Jordy Culotta Show. Katie's online, katie'sinmidcity.com, katie'sinmidcity.com.
Gabriel Relaford.
Gabe Relaford is someone I know that LSU has turned up the heat on this week, specifically in trying to flip him from A&M to LSU and start to make a push on these defensive tackles. I mean, Frank Wilson is now in charge of this room, or putting this class, at least from a defensive tackle standpoint, together. They have not caught any breaks from a coaching standpoint. They've had 4 coaches in 4 years, and Jimmy Lindsey had an emergency medical situation prior to the season that has kept him away and what was supposed to be his first year on the job. So they've got to make they've got to make a turn there at defensive line, because when you look down the line, they do not have a lot of help coming in. They have got to make sure and shore up this class from a defensive line standpoint. And Gabriel Relaford is a guy that really I know will be high on the board.
I had to check the tape, but Coach, this kid
this week. And you know, like from a recruiting standpoint, they've done well. They really have. I love this class. I think this class is going to be fantastic. And one thing that has been more evident than in other classes is you get the feel in talking to some recruits and talking to like people like Shea Dixon and Billy Embody and Sam Spiegelman and all these guys that cover recruiting, Big G, Glenn West over at 247, is that Frank Wilson has much more of a footprint on this class than he did last season. And I think that's, like you had to get Polian out of there. You know what I mean? Like Polian has this, little man syndrome or this, complex where he feels like he's got to be heard. And, that's why you're recruiting defensive backs from Las Vegas rather than getting defensive backs from Louisiana.
Jordan Matthews.
Exactly. Great example. I don't know anything about Jeremiah Hughes. Nothing. He probably can play. He earned an LSU offer. But in comparison's sakes, when you've got Jordan Matthews and Jeremiah Hughes sitting on the same board, get the Louisiana kid 10 out of 10 times. Don't fly 300, 4 hours to Vegas to go recruit somebody that's going to come down to a place that you don't know the culture. You may not like the food. The heat's a little different than it is in Vegas. Still hot, but a different type of heat. The traffic it's a different way of people talk. It's not the Louisiana kid.
And if you want to talk about a kid that's going to go to class,
and for whatever reason,
GPA,
this staff has wanted to fly over states and go recruit defensive backs and defensive ends and wide receivers where you're like, hey, you don't even have to get on a plane.
You barely have to get in a car. Sheldon Sampson's down the street.
It's a 10-minute car ride. It's an hour car ride to the heart of New Orleans. It is a 45-minute car ride to the heart of Acadiana. It is 3.5 hours to Monroe. I mean, like, don't overthink it. I expect them to flip the big defensive tackle, Gabriel what? Relaford?
Relaford, yeah.
And Wardell Mack here over the next couple of weeks.
Come home, Wardell.
Months.
Stay home.
You know why? Because they got the Don working it. Things have become desperate. It shouldn't. They shouldn't. And I don't know this. I just talking to recruits, talking to high school coaches, seeing a lot more of Frank Wilson. Yeah, Frank Wilson keeps calling me a lot more. Getting text messages from Frank. Like, that's good to hear. That's great to hear. When you got a big gun, shoot it. When you got a toy, play with it. You got this bright and shining ornament, show it off. Everything from Frank Wilson to Quincy Wiggins to Harold Perkins. Quit hiding all this talent, man.
Somebody get Verge on the phone. Where's his kids at?
What you want to talk to Verge about? About Jaden?
Yeah, where's his kids at these days? What are they doing? He used that cornerback.
Oh, gosh.
Sure, he cares about LSU a lot, huh?
I mean, Polian.
Get that man away from me.
Yeah. Polian.
I mean, like, shout out to Brian Polian, man.
Hey, Polian.
Great guy.
Polian ran more talent off than he brought in, and he was a recruiting coordinator. And there were recruits that were saying, like, out loud, like, hey, man, don't ever let that guy call me again. Seriously. Like,
rather talk to Frank.
I don't want to talk to that guy anymore. He freaks me out.
The biggest favor Brian Kelly could have done his friend is that he got him a different job. If he was still here, my God.
George the Greek, when you get a toy, play with it. That's what I tell my wife.
Ooh.
Damn, George.
Yeah, George. It's a little early for that, huh?
Is that Quincy Wiggins?
Or is it Harold Perkins?
Don't let Quincy Wiggins play with any toys. We already saw what
Chris
happened.
Hilton or Quincy Wiggins?
Yes. Where was Chris Hilton? But
seriously, where is he?
Yeah,
I saw him jumping around in pregame. It was almost kind of like he thought he was going in. He was kind of like listening to the play.
Yeah. I saw him go in
log
motion.
a rep.
I saw him go in motion a couple times.
I saw Aaron Anderson go in motion a lot. And that's the other thing. It just felt like LSU had no plan on the offensive side of the ball. It was very much, Jaden, go do your thing. And that's my problem with the LSU team. And I think that, hey, coaches need week 1 games too, or week 0 games as well. But I was expecting the LSU offense to kind of hit a different gear than they did last year. And it regressed.
Evolve.
It regressed. Malik was good.
Huh?
Malik was good.
Wilson Alexander, 13 targets, 6 catches. Something's missing. You know what I mean? Like, that's...
Yeah, him and Jaden.
That's a lack of chemistry.
Him and Jaden were off.
Well, no, Jaden's great at. I mean, he did the same thing. The same thing happened with Booty last year. Like, where once you become a number 1, it feels like Jaden is quick to come off his first read. But look at Brian Thomas went over 100 yards. Like, I know he had the big 70-yarder at the end of the game, but it feels like he finds his second and third read, which is what you wanted. And we talked about this yesterday. It felt so forced to make it seem like they had worked on Jaden Daniels progressing in the pocket and making reads as opposed to actually calling plays that can get you down the field. Yeah. It was more of like, look at how much LSU's changed. Mm-hmm. And you just got to be a little bit better. You got to be a little bit more creative. You have so many weapons and so many explosive players, and it just felt so vanilla.
Yeah.
At Jordy, we love you, but concerned about a heart attack at this point.
Yeah.
Over Perkins?
I might have one. I almost had one.
The Perkins situation could drive me to bad health.
Yeah, it almost did.
It drives me mad watching that game the other night in the third and fourth quarter where he's just on in the middle, getting pushed around.
Trying to find out his space.
It was like he was ice skating out there. And nobody who's getting paid a ton of money is sitting there watching it, whether it's from the booth or 10 yards away from it on the sideline saying, yo, we got to make an adjustment. The best player on the defense is getting manhandled because he's out of position. Put him in the right spot. Wilson Alexander next here in the Jordy Culotta Show, built by R&B Builders.
Put Harold Perkins in the game. Play Denver Harris.
If you're in the market for a mortgage lender, you need to start with Doug Bickley and his team. Bickley has built a crew with over 50 years of combined lending experience. They've been in business for over 20 years, and they love helping their clients achieve the American dream of home ownership. They're also key with working in real estate agents and helping their clients getting same-day pre-approval. They average about one buyer a day getting them in a home. If you want to get in touch with Doug and his crew, it's easy. Call them 225-214-5154. 225-214-5154. Go see the Bickley team today. They're located on the corner of Coursey Boulevard and Sherwood Forest right here in Baton Rouge. Is it time to wash your house or business? Call the pros at Hydro Wash today. Get them out with their low-pressure, soft-washing cleaning approach. From commercial buildings, rooftops, and residentials, Hydro Wash is ready to get your place shining. Find them on Facebook or call Curtis at 225-933-7068. Take it from me, Hydro Wash came by and made my house look like new. What was best was the professionalism. They picked up everything, made the clean, and then put everything back to where it belonged. Get in touch with Curtis today. Call him at 225-933-7068 or find Hydro Wash on Facebook.
What's up?
What's happening?
Chilling with a couple of cool guys. You?
Chilling and watching some tube. Hold on.
Did you do it?
Hold on. Did you do it?
Roof's up.
Hold on.
Roof's up?
Roof's up!
Roof's up!
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Beautiful roof every single time.
True. True.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Are you looking for sound financial advice? Then get in touch with Daniel Newman of Edward Jones. You can call him today at 225-261-8262 or email him daniel.newman@edwardjones.com. If you're planning for retirement, saving for college, for children or grandchildren, or just looking for sound investment opportunities, get in touch with Daniel today, 225-261-8262, located on Magnolia Square Drive in Central. Daniel Newman of Edward Jones.
You can't put the cart before the horse. That'd be like, will you marry me?
Do I know you?
Never sign a contract with a roofer before he gets on your roof. Call Go Roof instead. We offer a free, no-obligation inspection. A beautiful roof every shingle time. Bobby, goes in the front.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
Belmont Stakes Race Training. I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
Kentucky Derby Training. I'm sticking to roofing.
Roof, roof, Go Roof.
Malik Neighbors, a wide receiver.
Favorite pregame meal?
Popeyes.
What would winning a national championship mean to you?
It would mean a lot to me because, we've seen a lot of the greats come through here, won their national championship, got, remembered for life.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Probably fly. That or telekinesis.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Do it wrong, do it long. Do it right, do it light. Kyra Lacey, wide receiver, number 2.
Do you have any nicknames?
K2.
What's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
Stay humble.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Fly. I be flying in my dreams.
What's been the highlight of your partnership with us?
The bike giveaway was one of the best things. I was pretty excited about that one. Texas A&M, I just got a point to prove because last year I dropped 2 balls I should have caught. I'm coming for them for real.
That's it.
Thank you, man.
All right, welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by our friends over at Go Roof, online at GEAUXroof.com. A beautiful roof every single time. Roof's up from our friends over at Go Roof. Remember, 2-year free workmanship guarantee with all new roof installations. They got great experience. Count on them for roof repair, roof installation, and roof maintenance over at Go Roof. You can get in touch with them online at GEAUXroof.com or call them at 927-8300, 225-927-8300. You see the Go Roof logo back here. GEAUXroof.com, our friends over at Go Roof. They'll hop up on the roof for you today, let you know if you have any damage. They'll work directly with the insurance to take the headaches away from you. It'll be a stress-free experience when you work with our friends over at Go Roof. Request a quote online today at GEAUXroof.com or just call them 225-927-8300. A beautiful roof every single time. All right, Wilson Alexander, who covers LSU football for The Advocate and NOLA.com. He was also named the Edward Ashoff Rising Star Media Member in the offseason by ESPN, which is a hell of an honor in our profession. We welcome in Wilson to his regular Tuesday spot.
Oh, yes, look at the hair.
Hair looks fantastic as usual. And hopefully he can talk us off the ledge here as we have been peeking over for the last 24 hours, Wilson. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. I don't know if I can completely talk you off the ledge. That was not a pretty game, but hopefully I can provide some perspective that maybe will make you feel at least less concerned in some spots. Let's do it. Let's hold hands and just make the leap together. Just aim for the bush, right?
That's right. All right, so Wilson, we're more opinion, you're more fact-based, you've got the relationships, you're talking to the people. The most surprising part to me was the offseason of hearing about new names, seeing the new faces on the practice field, and then showing up on Sunday night and not seeing a lot of them in person. When you looked at just the snap count, when you looked at the participation report from Sunday night, what was your reaction of who LSU played and the players that were out there?
Certainly a lot of the guys who you saw last year, and you expected that on the offensive side because there was so much returning production. But there wasn't a lot of, like, Aaron Anderson really didn't seem heavily involved in the game plan. And at running back, without Logan Diggs playing, you didn't obviously get to see him. So it ended up being some guys other than Trey Bradford. That was a surprise to, see them be contributing. But on the defensive side, it was, the only newcomers who were really making much of a difference were Andre Sam was in the back end quite a bit. Deuce Chestnut obviously had the pick and was playing a lot. Zay Alexander was playing a lot, which you knew. Braden Swinson got more snaps than he seemed to be getting earlier in the preseason. He was coming on late in the preseason, and he ended up basically rotating straight in and out with Ovie Gofu, and obviously Omar Spades and Jordan Jefferson was playing. So, like, the guys who you saw in terms of newcomers were playing a good bit, and part of the rotation, the guys who were actually newcomers who you saw playing a good bit during preseason, that carried over in a lot of ways, but it still they just weren't having maybe the instant impact is heavy on the game as you would hope that they would have when you came in, especially defensively, knowing that these transfers needed to make a big difference and needed to do so quickly right out of the gate because of it being Florida State. They just didn't quite make the difference in the game that LSU ultimately, I guess, needed them to.
Wilson, you were sitting in the press room. What was your reaction when you heard Brian Kelly state that that his team, that LSU was not the team that they thought they were? Who do you think that they thought they were, and what did you make by that quote?
It's something I want to actually follow up with Brian about when we talk to him later today, because that was jarring to hear.
Yes.
It was like, if you clear. So obviously we heard Brian Kelly say on Thursday at his radio show, we're going to beat the heck out of Florida State. Now, Brian Kelly sometimes makes these comments that sounds like he's maybe going for somewhat of a joke. This was, I think, mostly to just excite the fan base and get people going on a radio show. I don't think he really meant too much by it, because sometimes he makes these comments, doesn't mean a whole lot by it, and it's just trying to say something maybe a little bit funny and light and get kind of people excited. But this time it really sort of came back to bite him, because it clearly showed that he believed in this team and felt confident in this team, and that whatever he had been seeing throughout the preseason made him feel pretty good. And that just didn't end up translating at all. The expectations did not match the reality of the first game. Now, over the course of the year, this is where maybe can talk you off the ledge. LSU can still have a good season. Like, Florida State might be one of the better teams in the country. It looks like they're going to probably be the best of the ACC with the way Clemson played last night in particular. And so, that was a very good team. But you were expecting a lot more from LSU. And so that's a concerning thing when you talk about just sort of the overall state of the program, is how did those expectations not match the reality of what showed up on Sunday?
What did you make of the quarterback play?
It was fine. It wasn't anything that was necessarily spectacular, because it didn't patch every hole, but it was, in my mind, not the main problem that LSU had. The main problem would have been, the inability to maybe bring down Jordan Travis, not being able to get off the field on third down, the usage with Harold, the concerns in the secondary being very much validated, obviously against some fantastic receivers, but also just sort of the vanilla of the play calling and feeling like it was just sort of stale at times. I thought Jaden, in terms of how he played, he was able to carry them at times. Made some really nice runs, which you're accustomed to seeing, but he had to do way too much of it because their running game was completely ineffective outside of him. And so he just didn't have a lot of help. He makes a couple good throws, they get dropped. Obviously, he could throw the one down to Brian Brian Thomas down the sideline a lot better, and maybe that ends up being a touchdown right there. But Brian still has to make that catch, and so I thought he was fine. He wasn't really pushing the ball downfield, but that's really not what I was expecting to see out of him. I didn't expect him to see him throwing it deep every other play or anything like that. He took the shots when they were there, and they just didn't really get completed. More often, he was sharp in his underneath routes. I thought he was certainly more aggressive than he was in this game a year ago. But it was just there was so much else wrong around him that I wouldn't pin this loss on him.
Yeah, for sure. Wilson Alexander joining us. He's over at The Advocate. Remember, follow him on X at WHAlexander_. He will be at the press luncheon today for Brian Kelly. That will be at noon, just like it is every week, usually on Mondays, but delayed a day because of the holiday. All right, Wilson, I blew a gasket on Sunday night watching how they used Harold Perkins. A day later, I am more depressed about it. What do you sense on Perkins moving forward, and what was that on Sunday? Is that an experiment, or is that where you see him playing the remainder of the season?
That was what they had been working on with him for 7 months, and that ended up being the result of it in the first game, which is not encouraging. And it was disheartening to hear Kelly's answer afterward be just sort of like, well, he's a player learning a new position, and there's a learning curve. You really needed, especially because of the magnitude of his first game, for him to be completely ready to do all of that right out of the gate. And if he wasn't necessarily, if there was a learning curve, then there probably should have been a game plan to account for that and to prevent him from just being shoved around by offensive linemen, and he could not get off blocks very well in the middle of the field. He's 6'1", 220, and there's offensive linemen who are really, really big, and when he's not being able to attack and he's having to react and play a little bit on his heels, then he's put at a disadvantage. There was a line from the ESPN broadcast crew in the middle of it saying, it's got to be great for the quarterback to see Harold Perkins dropping into coverage, because he was doing it a lot, and instead of going after the passer. And even when he was going after Jordan Travis, he wasn't making much of a difference. There was a few times when LSU used him as a spy, and which he was incredible at last year. Remember the Alabama game with him just sitting there waiting on Bryce Young and just stalking him? He was fantastic at that, but maybe because it's been put on tape, Florida State was able to account for him. First drive, I think it was the 3rd and 14 to Johnny Wilson right before the touchdown to Keon Coleman. Harold spying Jordan Travis, and Jordan Travis gets pushed out of the pocket by a rush, I think, from Braden Swinson. And Harold overcommitted to the left, and Jordan kind of cut back through the right side and had Johnny Wilson wide open. And when Harold overcommitted, an offensive lineman just basically took him out of the play. And so he just seems like he's maybe trying to get used to all of this and playing on his heels a little bit. And Harold's at his best when he's able to attack. And right now he's not doing that. And even when he was rushing the passer, which just wasn't very often, he wasn't getting home because Florida State was able to neutralize him.
What are we looking at on fielding punts in this program? Greg Clayton makes an incredible catch on the first punt. Aaron Anderson muffs the second punt. They have a revolving door of guys, again, who they just are trying to find the guy. Is this mental with the program at this point?
That's another one of those spots where the expectations did not meet the reality of the situation at all, because all preseason Brian Kelly was talking very, very highly about Aaron Anderson and his ability to be a dynamic playmaker. He did throw in the caveat at one point that as long as they catch the ball, like, he's going to be good, and he didn't. He muffed the punt. And he was bringing kicks out of the end zone that he shouldn't have, not even getting back to the 25. So that's obviously why they ended up putting Greg Clayton back there again. But it was just like PTSD when Greg. Well, I mean, especially when Aaron muffed the punt, but even when Greg almost muffed the first one, and when he caught it over his head, it was like it's going to be this team's Achilles heel, I guess. I don't know. Every program seems to have something that they have to really shake off before maybe they can contend for a championship. Maybe that's LSU's thing. And the one day when it finally fixes special teams, that'll be the year that they fully break through. I don't know. It's concerning to see that continue to still be an issue after last season. Brian Kelly's put a lot on the return game, saying that was kind of the main issue they had on special teams, that they had brought in somebody who was going to make a difference, and he did not see that in the first game.
What'd you make of the offensive line play on Sunday?
That was concerning. In pass pro, maybe not awful, but they gave up 4 sacks. And sometimes that's not necessarily always on the offensive line, and sometimes it's on the quarterback. Jared Verse got home, of course, against Will Campbell once, but Jared Verse is probably going to have a sack at some point. He's a very, very good player. But when Florida State's defensive linemen were coming off the field after the first drive, saying that the right side of the offensive line, particularly Miles Frazier at right guard, was vulnerable, that was a problem. And you showed not being able to get 1 yard in certain very key situations was one of the more, I think, lingering long-term outlook concerns that I had coming out of this game. That maybe went unnoticed because we don't always look deeply at offensive line play. But LSU's running backs, when you take away Josh Williams' 35-yard run, had 14 yards on 11 carries. They had no push up front and in the middle inside. They were getting beat up front by Florida State. Florida State's defensive linemen were getting up underneath them and pushing them off the ball, especially in those situations where LSU just needed a yard. It couldn't get it. That's a problem. That was concerning to see, because this is an offensive line that obviously brought back essentially 5 starters and had a lot of experience. And Brian Kelly was saying last week that because of all that, they were going to be much better, right after the snap in terms of picking things up. And you did not see that in the run game, especially in short yardage situations. And that is probably one of the more concerning long-term issues in terms of what this team can do this year. If the offensive line can't curate that kind of push, then they're going to be having a really tough time, and even more then gets put on Jaden to create with his legs.
We saw Emory Jones make his debut in this week last season. Do you expect Lance Hurd to crack the lineup this week?
Will he start? Uncertain. Certainly something to ask Brian Kelly. But will he play at some point? I would think absolutely. This is a game where you're not really going to be able to change your opinion of LSU, but LSU can at least start maybe working on some things. Brian Kelly said on his radio show that they were going to bring Lance Hurd along gradually, was the word that he used. But, especially if that right guard spot has been the one during the preseason that got, sort of experimented with. Mason Lunsford got some reps there before he then missed a few practices. Obviously, they had the scrimmage where they moved Emory to right guard and brought Zalance into the lineup. So I think they're probably going to try to see it in live game action at some point, and then be able to evaluate it from there.
Wilson, from the defensive line standpoint, how much of an impact does Mason Smith make on returning, as he is expected to make his return here in week 2?
Well, it certainly helps anything to have a player of his caliber, the pass rush that he is able to, should be able to generate, that has always been said he would be able to do this year. Being able to bring him off the inside. Mekhi Wingo was fantastic in the first half against Florida State. They ended up having to basically just double team him to try to neutralize him because his get off is so fast that he was disrupting everything in the run game. And, LSU's other defensive tackles played okay. Jordan Jefferson made some plays. And, Florida State was certainly having trouble running the ball in the first half until it went to that running back counter look in the second half that LSU wasn't able to fit for whatever reason. Those defensive tackles were playing all right, and Mackay in particular. But when you add Mason back to that, it's just adding to that group another really good player that should strengthen what is one of the maybe positives on your team. To have him and Mackay next to each other in certain situations is going to be really tough for people to defend. It seems like Mackay has gotten even better in terms of rushing the passer and getting through the line of scrimmage and disrupting plays than he was even a year ago. And so to have them together and what that could do for the defensive front is really important moving forward. I don't think it'll make a massive difference right out of the gate necessarily, but it should be a positive for this team.
You mentioned Aaron Anderson, and obviously they had some drops the other night, but the wide receiver play on Sunday, what was your evaluation?
Underwhelming. They didn't get Malik Neighbors the ball in a lot of space. Maybe some of that is Florida State's cornerbacks being really tight on him, but it was a lot of sort of comeback routes where he was able to get in a few yards after the catch, but not really break out anything. It seemed like he was out on the boundary a lot, which they said he wouldn't be. They wanted to be able to move him from the boundary to the slot and all over so that teams wouldn't be able to just double team him or something like that. And so that was, and then just him and Jaden just not being on the same page at times, like on that first fade route, Jaden throws it way too much on a line, and Malik immediately points up like, I need the ball high. Because we've seen Malik make contested catches like that. That ball is high. That cornerback was turned around. Malik probably comes down with the ball. So just having those sort of miscommunication issues was a problem because this is an offseason that they've supposedly had the whole thing together to work out those kinks. And then you just didn't get a lot. Obviously, the stat line for Brian Thomas at the end was great. And if you take out that drop, he has a fantastic game. But that one drop was really crucial. And so that was underwhelming. Kyron Lacey had a couple drops, and that was certainly a concern because during the preseason, you had not seen those drops out of him. Like, he had a really, really solid preseason and erased that, but then the game comes on and he has two of them. And so it was just kind of underwhelming because especially as when you looked on the other side, Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman were fantastic. That was not what you wanted to see out of LSU's receivers per se, a group that we had talked about all offseason as being really, really talented. They are talented, but they've got to sort of clean up the details and just be able to make the catches in those key situations that when Florida State was making these fantastic plays with its receivers, LSU wasn't able to match them. And that was something that you didn't necessarily expect to see.
What do you make of Mike Denbrock's scheme in terms of what the LSU offense looks like? Obviously, it didn't feel like a lot changed from last year into this year, where it felt like there was almost like you gave him like a landing pad where it was like a new scheme, new quarterback, everything was fresh. Now they had a whole year to work together. It feels like a whole lot of the same thing, and even almost maybe a little bit more underwhelming.
Schematically, not much was ever going to be different. LSU's players said that that they hadn't overhauled it schematically or anything like that, and so the play calling was expectedly kind of what you saw last year, but it did feel stale, in certain situations, and it didn't help that the execution, especially like we talked about in those short yardage spots, just wasn't good. And so that doesn't help with your play calling if you can't execute. But as a play caller, you have to be able to call the things that your guys can execute and maybe overcome some of those deficiencies if they aren't getting them, especially late in games when you've seen if something isn't working early, be able to make an adjustment and call something else to maybe make up for that. LSU's got its plays that it really, really likes, those zone reads and RPOs with the Mason Taylor off into the flat.
Oh, I'm well aware.
That kind of thing. I know.
I feel like everybody is.
But it wasn't as effective. Exactly. It was, and so it wasn't as effective as it was last year. Like the 4th and 1 at the 13-yard line, they ran that exact same play that they love to run, the zone read with Josh Williams, and Mason was leaking off into the flat. Well, Mason was covered, and because Jaden probably didn't make the right read on that play, he gets tackled for a loss. And so you got to be able to adjust off of that. There was a few more catch and run opportunities, I thought, where they had their guys turned upfield. That was something we heard a lot about during the offseason, trying to create explosive plays. And they were, I think, in the passing game early in the first half in particular, a little bit more explosive than they had been a year ago. The numbers bear that out. I mean, Jade ended up throwing for 347 yards, and there was some big chunk plays, which was great to see, but it just didn't really sustain, and it didn't come through when they really needed it to in the second half.
Last one, Wilson, I'll get you out of here. The 11 rush total on Saturday night for everybody outside of Jaden Daniels. LSU was built at one point on really kind of running the football, and obviously the identity and the offenses have changed over the last couple of years, but is there a theory of establishing the run on this team when there was so much confidence in the offensive line, or what do you see when you see those totals of what story does that tell?
Repeat the question for me real quick for a second. My AirPods cut out.
Only 11 rushes outside of Jaden Daniels. I know that they don't have that one running back, but, I mean, you got to run it more than 11 times to try and establish a run, correct?
Yeah, you would think so. And I mean, they just didn't have what it took up front to be able to do that. Maybe that was something that they did realize pretty early on, was that they were not going to be able to get the push up front that they needed. But they just kept, to Lloyd's point earlier about the offensive scheme, they just kept running sort of inside handoffs. The majority of those plays were just inside handoffs, probably off of an RPO action where Jaden had the choice. But there just wasn't variety in the run game whatsoever. And the one play that did pop was a little bit different. It was this, outside between the guard and tackle, kind of a stretch to the right, because Jaden saw that the right side of Florida State's defense had been vacated because they were playing man coverage and LSU had trips to the left. And so that was like a little bit different. But oftentimes it was just kind of running into the middle of the offensive line, and there was nowhere to go in the middle of the offensive line. And so that was something that maybe probably needed to get adjusted, because it just wasn't running 11 times in a game is not going to be sustainable for this offense. Obviously, Jaden ended up having like 15 carries, but again, that's also not sustainable. That's not really what LSU wanted coming into this year. I don't think was for him to be running quite as much as he did and in the same manner that he did a year ago. They have to get more out of the running game going into the next few weeks, especially once you get into the SEC schedule. That starts with the offensive line being able to push up front, and because if they're going to keep running those kind of inside plays, then they've got to be able to push defenses off the ball. Otherwise, they need to figure out something else in that area in order to get the run game going. Maybe it'll help that you get Logan Diggs back, hopefully, here soon. He was in full pads but didn't play. Armani Goodwin seemed like he was close, sounded like he was close to playing this week, but just wasn't quite ready yet. And of course, John Emery will be back against Mississippi State. And maybe once you have your full stable, it helps, but a lot of that starts up front.
Yep. Wilson, what do you make of just the way that the team looked, the team's mentality whenever you watch that LSU football team play, specifically in the second half? I've never really seen an LSU football team kind of lay down and quit like that.
Seemed like to hear it post game with like Kelly's comments about we clearly weren't the football team that I thought we were, and Jaden Daniels reiterating that sort of same kind of point. It seemed like they maybe got a little bit too high and felt like they had accomplished maybe more than they had. And that is, again, a problem in terms of when you think about sort of overall outlook and something that's going to have to get corrected, is that this team has not arrived yet. They had a great first season, but they had not accomplished what LSU teams really truly want to accomplish, which is making the college football playoff and contending for national championships. That's where LSU wants to get to. It wasn't there yet. And they had a great first season. They overachieved. But they had to continue to sort of feel like they were chasing things. And it seemed like in the second half, once they stopped, once the lead sort of, once their lead evaporated and then Florida State pulled ahead, yeah, exactly. They just didn't have a lot of fight and effort, which was something that we didn't see out of them last year. That was a team last year that won a lot of its games because it outfought teams in the second half, and it took a lot of pride in doing so. And you didn't see that in the first game. And that was also another one of the things that was concerning in terms of sometimes the schematic things you can fix and players can make a jump and stuff like that. But you got to be able to want it. And that's something this team is going to have to embrace as it moves forward.
Wilson will be here every Tuesday, 8:15. Make sure and tune in. Set the schedule if you want to keep up with the best on LSU information. Follow Wilson Alexander on X at WH_Alexander_. He will be at the press luncheon today.
The depressed luncheon.
And he will have all the news that's coming out of there. So make sure and keep up with it. Wilson, great work. We'll talk to you again next week. Thank you, man.
Thanks, y'all. Hopefully
Yes.
Come on. No. Say
I was
it.
going to say, hopefully next week you feel a little bit like you're not quite fully on the edge.
Yes.
Hopefully you come back off the ledge by next week.
You backed me up a little bit. Nice work.
My feet are dangling.
We'll see you. I'll see you at lunch.
I'm sitting on the edge right now.
There he is. Wilson Alexander from The Advocate, NOLA.com. Follow him on X at WHAlexander_. Remember, every week we're brought to you by Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works. Over at Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works, they got a couple of trucks working East Baton Rouge daily. They're located in West Baton Rouge. No website, no social media. And if you mention the Culotta Show when you call them up at 225-776-2431, you save yourself 15% on that call. Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works, 225-776-2431. You mentioned the show. You save 15%. No website, no social media. Jude Barker and the crew. Great spot, man. Great company. Been supporting us for a long time. We love them over in West Baton Rouge Parish, but they're all over the place. Barker Brothers Plumbing and Works will be back and close it out here on the Jordy Culotta Show.
Is LSU our shit happens moment of the
It has to be.
It has to be.
Has to be.
I think. I hope Barker Brothers gets to the Morgan Wallen concert. Did you see that? No. There's girls going.
Oh my God!
Ham on each other.
This girl's mom was getting beat
up with the boot, man.
And
then she slammed the door on her head. Yeah, they interviewed her. Portnoy interviewed her, and she's like, "I saw my mom getting her ass kicked, so I had to do something."
Her mom?
Yeah,
that was her mom.
And she came in. She's like, "I've never been in a fight in my life. You could have fooled me."
Wow.
She showed more fight than LSU
Tyson
did. My God. She had a mission.
Big push here to get to 100 likes before we log off at 9 a.m. If we could get 100 likes during live programming, that would be awesome. Help us get there. If you're inside of the chat, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button for us. If you have not already done so, we appreciate that. And all of the interaction. Thanks for all the comments over the last couple of days. One more thing, too. If you've not subscribed to the channel while you're just sitting here during the commercial break, just click that subscription button if you don't mind. If you want to know every time we go live, if you hit that bell, you'll get an alert once we log off. But we'll be here for a couple of more minutes. Hit that like button if you don't mind before we can get out of here. Subscribe if you have not already done so. We'll be back right after this to close it out live here on our Click Here digital campus.
And if you super chat, we will read your comment live on the air.
I need a cigarette.
I need a...
My name is Harold Perkins, and I play linebacker.
What's your favorite pre-game meal or snack?
Pasta with a little steak, something that's not too heavy.
Any superstitions or pre-game rituals?
I pray a lot. Just be me and God before the game. Perky worky. I like when they call me the percolator. I like that.
If anyone gets in a wreck, who should they call?
Gore.
Where were you born at, Greg?
Hattiesburg, Mississippi. But I claim 504 food because I was raised there my whole life. Favorite type of food is spaghetti. But you need to try spaghetti with some corn on the side. Funniest person, I'd probably get Kyron Lacey. He be having me joked out every time I talk to him.
Who's the most athletic?
You know, besides myself, Perk or Malik. Future self, just take one day at a time, one step at a time. If you're doing something, just be where your feet are. Make sure you give 100% effort.
What is something on your bucket list?
Win a Super Bowl. That's definitely on my bucket list.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Time traveling.
Who's the fastest on the team?
Like in a short span, I would say quick trigger, I'm taking Perk. One thing most people don't know about me, probably that I moved 12 times growing up, 12 different states.
Who's the most savage on the team?
Mason Smith. Mason Smith, definitely.
And who gets it done?
Gordon.
Thank you, man. That's great.
Emory Jones, right tackle.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Got it from my mom, and she just told me, always keep your head on the swivel.
Favorite subject?
Math, easy. I kind of keep it light. Give me some type of red beans or something like that. Throw a little cornbread on the side.
Light with red beans.
Yeah, just a little bit. I am superstitious. I got some PSDs that's purple and yellow and white. I wear them every game. I feel like they my lucky draws, and you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep doing it.
To All Sports Fans was founded back in 1981 and has remained a family business for over 40 years. Today, they still have the great selection on the floor, but they're also a leader in custom apparel for businesses, sports teams, and other groups. Take it from us, everybody over here at FM Digital Media. They help us out with all of our apparel. Let them help you out today. Go ask for Cody over at Red Stick Sports. Check him out online at redsticksports.biz.
The Jordy Culotta Show is brought to you by A-Bears Lawn Maintenance. Commercial or residential, A-Bears Lawn Maintenance is ready to work. A-Bears can tackle all your homeowners association requirements. Call Blake at 225-485-8022. A-Bears Lawn Maintenance.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Here we go.
Thanks. And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Hey Tiger fans, when you're traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, make sure to visit Tom and Wright Granning at Go Mart and On The Go Deli, where you can fill up your tank and your belly. Go Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you may need on your trip. Located at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left. Also stop by Wardo's Po' Boys at 309 North Broadway on the beautiful Natchez Bluff, where the Po' Boys are so good you'll swear you're in Cajun country.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Is it time to wash your house or business? Call the pros at Hydro Wash today. Get them out with their low-pressure, soft-washing cleaning approach. From commercial buildings, rooftops, and residentials, Hydro Wash is ready to get your place shining. Find them on Facebook or call Curtis at 225-933-7068. Take it from me, Hydro Wash came by and made my house look like new. What was best was the professionalism. They picked up everything, made the clean, and then put everything back to where it belonged. Get in touch with Curtis today. Call him at 225-933-7068 or find Hydro Wash on Facebook.
All right, buddy. Make it a good shot. Oh, yeah. Sticking the roof in. Hey, Greg.
All right, welcome back here. Jordy Culotta Show, as always, built by RMB Builders, live here on the Click Here Digital Campus on this Tuesday. Appreciate everybody for getting involved and hitting the likes. We'd love to get to the likes to 100 per live episode. We're at 132 now, so we appreciate that. And
thank you.
Remember, if you have not subscribed, hit that subscription button.
How many do we have?
We're just under 15.
I think we're at 15.6.
Are we?
I think so. Are we? I can't check.
I'm looking
live.
at 14.9.
Oh, well, let's get to 15. I think we should get to, if we get to 20, we'll do something cool.
Yes.
I don't know what it is yet because I'm just now thinking about it.
Tidy bucks.
We'll bring in Click Here Digital for that as well.
Yes.
Hunter Hall, Jordy, you need to get this show on at the Floribama, like at the next round. I agree. It would be a great spot.
At the mullet toss?
The next round, they do great work over there, man. I actually met those guys at SEC Media Days a couple of years ago and have been watching their show ever since. They do great work. They're over in Birmingham, and really cool. Kind of same type of model this year. They've built more of like a television set type for the podcast, but YouTube-based show, digital, social media, do great work, man. Hunter, if you got a contact over there, slide my DMs or hit me on an email, jordy@clickheredigital.com. All right, thanks for the interaction today. I'm going to try and make it over to BK's press luncheon today, see what he has to say about this past week.
What do you have to say for yourself?
Can you attest for your sins, Brian?
Hopefully they've got answers on Harold Perkins about what would be next there.
Do you think they stick with it?
It sounds like
it sounds like they're sold on the Harold Perkins at linebacker thing.
He looks
if
lost.
they do.
Couldn't get a pass rush.
If they stick with Perkins in the middle.
I'll kill myself.
And
on the stream.
He has be good for that. I should get us to 15.
That'll get us to that might get us to 30, coach.
Take one for the team.
Yeah, just do it.
It was all over Perkins. So do it in the number 4 jersey.
I will. Yeah. I will get a tattoo or something. Subscribe. Get the QR code tattooed on me.
If they leave him in the middle and they waste Harold Perkins.
The spell's doom for LSU.
I don't know how I could ever recover.
I don't think I will.
I mean, like, think about what you thought of Harold Perkins last year. I was comparing Perkins to Matthew.
I was comparing him to
Parsons. Who was the last freshman you had seen come in and dominate at a rate like Perkins did? For me, it was only Matthew.
Derek Stingley, maybe.
Stingley's a good call.
Yeah, 6 picks his freshman year.
Stingley's a great call.
Delpit?
Yeah, Grant Delpit. He wild in his freshman
The
year.
list is small, right?
5
It's a
names.
handful.
Yeah.
You don't even get to the second hand.
Pat
Pete.
Mm-hmm. That's his 5 names.
Justin Vincent?
I would put Harold Perkins in that discussion, and I would put him in the top 3.
Yes.
I'd put
And he had
Matthew,
3.
Stingley, Perkins in that top 3. You take them and put them in whatever order you want.
Start, cut, bench.
And to see Perkins playing on Sunday night and his reaction to the game of football, where his confidence level is always alpha, where his the way he carries himself is just, he's different than everybody else. He looked very pedestrian. He looked very confused. He looked very not confident out there.
Like a dog that didn't have a home.
And if you're his coach and you look at that and you keep him out there, I don't know how it's anything but insubordination. How you can take a football player that can single-handedly wreck a game like Perkins did last season and put him in a spot. And I'm not asking you to do exactly what you were doing with him last year. I'm sure there's enough film that exists on how people have schemed against that. I believe Georgia did a really good job of scheming against him late in the year.
Tennessee.
A&M did a good job. There was some film on him since then. But putting him in the middle of the field is not the answer.
What about a running back?
He's got to play defense.
There's a world where you can see number 4 in the backfield.
They need a running game.
Travis Hunter just played both ways the whole weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's not...
Still
How
had
good was
energy.
Colorado?
Oh, my goodness.
How good was Colorado?
That pick
man?
in the end zone
I
was...
meant to make my formal apology
I
to
mean,
Colorado.
Shador Sanders made a ton of money.
511 yards?
Ton of money, and was throwing dots. I mean, like...
Putting them in the bucket, coach.
I mean, dropping them like 45, 50 yards in the bucket.
We
I
all
love
sh-
the play calling.
We all should
Play calling
apologize
was-
to Colorado.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Dion. Hey, look. You know how to peel crawfish, Dion?
He'll be in an SEC sideline soon enough.
I mean, I'd rather him be in Baton Rouge than
He's
going to
be at Florida.
Soon enough.
Bobby.
He will be on an SEC sideline. If it works like that,
ugh.
and he shows up looking like and
Bringing
his
Louis with
team
him?
is playing like that, it is.
Do you think he's going to have more kids?
Him?
If I'm him, I would try to squirt out 2 more.
I don't know if he can.
Yeah. Still ran on the field, though. Still ran out.
If I got
After all them leg surgeries, still ran out.
I was
He doesn't
shocked.
have toes.
Yeah, he didn't have any. He lost his big toe.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how does he...
The pictures of him sitting down on the little stool on the sidelines are
So
just
funny.
like...
He can do whatever he
It's so
wants.
great.
Did
like,
you see?
it busting ass.
Did you see him and Warren Sapp spending time together?
I bet that is 10 out of 10 conversations.
Good Lord.
Unreal.
The stories they can't tell.
Right.
Did Dabo run out the tunnel?
He
No,
did.
it was
Sprinted.
Sprinted?
Full speed.
No, it was at Duke, huh? Yeah, it was at...
Yeah, but he still did it.
I mean,
I hate him more than
Dabo has
anybody
to-
in the world.
Dabo has to get Dabo on that camera.
Me too. I can't stand Dabo.
This is Dabo cam right here.
The funniest thing about Dabo is when they lose, he's still... It goes straight to...
It was such a weird game. Oh, yeah, really? Was it? You were outmanned by Duke.
And got bodied.
I mean, the only reason why you scored is because they muffed a punt and gave you a short field.
I'm still a child of Christ.
Yeah, you know...
God still loves me.
DJ Ugalele is going, wasn't me.
Yeah, wasn't you, DJU?
I mean, Heisman contender DJU.
Garrett Riley didn't look like he put a play in.
Did you see what he said?
Oh, he said he's here to run the Clemson offense. He's not here to run Garrett Riley's offense. He's here to tweak the Clemson offense.
I would put my 2 weeks in
Dabo.
right after I heard that.
No doubt about it.
Garrett, look, you might have to learn how to peel crawfish after this year, Coach.
Oh, wow. I mean, he would be a great hire.
We'll let you come do whatever you want.
Dabo.
You got Aaron Anderson and Sheldon Sampson to play with.
Hold on, let's see if I can find the quote. He did. He ran straight down there. Garrett.
All right, make sure and hit that like button, share button, comment button. We appreciate you being here live on this Tuesday. Good show, great interaction. Wilson Alexander was fantastic. Remember, every Wednesday we talk to Jacques. Jacques will be in with us tomorrow. We'll talk to him about the trip to to Orlando. We'll get his thoughts on Brian Kelly's press conference today. That'll be at noon, of course, just like it is every week, usually on Mondays, but Tuesday this week because of the Labor Day holiday.
Oh, my God. If I'm a Clemson fan, I would off myself.
I mean, it seemed
Dabo
like
on ESPN when asked about Garrett Riley's first game as OC. Well, it's the Clemson offense. We've always collaborated as a staff. We hired Garrett to come in here and coordinate the Clemson offense.
How did Garrett Riley take that job?
Because he was lied to.
Yeah. And I'm sure he
Yeah, but like the day I found out that I was lied to, I'd have been like, oh, no. I'm trying to be a head coach next year, man.
I'm better at this than you are. That's
I mean,
why
like,
I'm here.
a lot better than this than you are.
Wait,
Oh, Dabo.
Clemson's OC is the head coach at Virginia now, right? Tony Elliott?
Elliott?
Wasn't that their offensive coordinator?
I mean, why would anybody ever go work at Clemson?
After that quote,
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody ever will.
Does he really? Dabo really thinks he's something. Like,
he does.
More than a man of faith.
Think LSU could cover that?
I'm ready to win a football game, man.
Jeez.
Connor Wegman's his player coach.
I let myself get too excited.
Same.
I did it.
I got over.
Yeah, me too.
I was talking shit last week. I was 45. I said 45-27 LSU.
The wrong way.
Oh, no doubt.
It was the wrong way.
Got it right, though. Just wrong.
Didn't get the score right.
But I always wait and try not to get excited, and then I did get excited.
They got me. They reeled me in.
And that's the worst feeling ever.
Got
and that's
duped.
okay. I got duped.
Bad.
Duped.
Hoodwinked.
Yep.
Bamboozled.
Led astray.
Fell for the picture and the makeup.
I did.
She was hot. She looked good.
Classic Notre Dame.
She looked good in the bar, coach.
She looked great on her profile.
Yeah.
Woke up the next day.
She doesn't exist.
I don't know why I did this.
I hate catfish. Damn it. I think there's still a world where.
What's your name again?
Yeah.
Can I call my mom real quick?
God. Yeah.
You got to take this call.
Hopefully, I cannot wait until LSU rips off a bunch of wins in November. We're looking totally different.
Look, 1-4 straight last year after the Florida State game.
Exactly. We've been here before.
We have, but I don't know if we've been
And
here.
this one feels worse somehow.
This one feels like I got my ass kicked.
I didn't expect to be depressed
did.
this morning, but y'all did that.
Like,
I came in here, tried to have a good attitude. I'll walk in here,
Yeah, it's too soon.
just still mad. Now I'm mad again.
Well, I watched it again.
How?
I don't know how many people in the chat watched the Errol Spence, I don't know the other guy's name. Oh, Terrence Crawford fight, but that's what this feels like. Just got my ass whooped.
We got it. Yeah, I feel like I got.
Yeah, you got rolled up.
Yeah, I want to put it in the rematch clause,
Like,
but
I
ain't no
mean,
rematch clause.
No,
yeah. See, last year, run it back. It's immediately what I was like. If you play again, LSU feels like they could win that game. They couldn't have played worse. This, you got your ass kicked.
This was a bar fight, and it was
And I ain't going back to the bar.
Yeah.
No.
Damn.
Close my tab for me.
In fact, I'm logging off of social media. I'm going to duck out of here for a little bit. Hey, give us a subscription. We're trying to get to 15,000 today, if you don't mind. If you have not subscribed to the show and you're one of the over 440 watching right now, hit us a subscription. We appreciate that. If you want to hit that bell, you'll know when we go live. Thanks for the interaction today. Appreciate Wilson Alexander. We will be back with you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Jacques will be here, as always. Compliments of RMB Builders and on the campus of Click Here Digital Studios campus over here on Interline in between Airline and Drusilla. Have a great Tuesday. We're back with you tomorrow morning.
Let's get our swagger back.
JD! It's the Jordy Culotta show. Come have a good time. It's the hottest show around. We ain't got to flex. Call up G, we get it done. We earning our respect. Tell recruits to let us in. Where they going next? Throw up the L's, now we lit. Band playing neck. From the boot to the east to the west coast. No matter where we at, we live. Mic'd up for show. Open up the phone lines. Come and join the show.